ASMR Psychologist. Welcome to my new whispered reading series, Self-Help Books. And I'm going to start with my favourite self-help book. It's called Reinventing Your Life. And it's by a couple of American psychologists, Jeff Young and Janet Klosko. And this book is based on a therapy technique called Schema focused CBT. Now, you might have heard of CBT, cognitive behavioural therapy. It's a talking therapy that is very effective for treating depression and anxiety and OCD, PTSD, eating disorders, many problems. But CBT really just helps you to deal with your symptoms on a day-to-day basis. Schema-focused CBT is it's kind of an extended version of CBT that helps you to tackle the factors that have made you vulnerable to developing your symptoms of depression, anxiety, whatever it is in the first place. So it helps you to future-proof any changes that you make in your CBT. So I would always recommend to people that this is a kind of a second phase therapy. Now, sometimes we do need a little extra help from somebody specifically trained when we are working on these issues, but I think there's a lot to be gained from self-help books, particularly this one. I think it can give you an idea of what work you still need to do and get you well on the road to achieving your goals. Okay, so I'm going to be sharing this book with you, and I'm going to be sharing it with you in an ASMR whisper. And for those of you who aren't used to watching my videos, that's because ASMR whispering induces a state a little like REM sleep, and in this state our mind is primed for learning. So listening to this information whilst in that state is going to mean that you're more likely to be able to take this information and use it. Okay, so let's begin. Maybe I should say as well, this is actually quite an old book now. I think it was first published in May 1994. And I think that just shows what a good book it is, because most of the psychologists that I know still use this as probably their core text that they recommend to their patients. Okay. Quite a long preface. I won't read that to you. Okay. Chapter 1. Life traps. Are you repeatedly drawn into relationships with people who are cold to you? Do you feel that even the people closest to you do not care or understand about you? Do you feel that you are, at your core, somehow defective, that nobody who truly knows you could possibly love and accept you? Do you put the needs of others above your own, so your needs never get met? And so you unfulfilled, or undeserving. We call these patterns life traps. In this book, we will describe the 11 most common life traps and will show you how to recognize them, how to understand their origins, and how to change them. A life trap is a pattern that starts in childhood and reverberates throughout life. It began with something that was done to us by our families or by other children. We were abandoned, criticized, overprotected, abused, excluded, or deprived. We were damaged in some way. Eventually, the life trap becomes part of us long after we leave the home we grew up in. We continue to treat situations in which we were mistreated, ignored, put down, or controlled, and in which we fail to reach our most desired goals. Life traps determine how we think, feel, act, and relate to others. They trigger strong feelings such as anger, sadness, and anxiety. Even when we appear to have everything: social status, an ideal marriage, the respect of people close to us, career success, we are often unable to save a life or believe in our accomplishments. Here's an example. Jed, a 39-year-old stockbroker who is extremely successful. He conquers women, but never really connects with them. Jed is caught in the emotional deprivation life trap. When we were developing the life traps approach, we began treating an intriguing patient called Jed. Jed perfectly illustrates the self-defeating nature of life traps. Jed goes from one woman to another, insisting that none of the women he meets can satisfy him. Eventually, each one disappoints him. The closest Jed comes to intimate relationships is infatuation with women who sexually excite him. The problem is that these relationships never last. Jed does not connect with women. He conquers them. The point at which he loses interest is exactly the point at which he has won. The woman starts to fall in love with him. This is Jed speaking now. It really turns me off when a woman is clingy, when she starts hanging all over me, especially in public. I just want to run. Jed struggles with loneliness. He feels empty and bored. There is an empty hole inside, and he restlessly searches for the woman who will fill him up. Jed believes he will never find this woman. He feels that he has always been alone and will always be alone. As a child, Jed felt this same aching loneliness. He never knew his father, and his mother was cold and unemotional. Neither of them met his emotional needs. He grew up emotionally deprived and continues to recreate this state of detachment as an adult. For years, Jed inadvertently repeated this pattern with therapists, drifting from one to another. Each therapist initially gave him hope, yet ultimately disappointed him. He never really connected with his therapists. avoid the intimacy with which he was so unfamiliar and uncomfortable. Emotional support from a therapist was essential, but not enough. His therapists did not confront his self-destructive patterns, often or forcefully enough. For Jed to escape his emotional deprivation life trap, he had to stop finding fault with the women he met and begin to take responsibility for fighting his own discomfort about getting close to people and accepting their nurturance. When Jed finally came to us for treatment, we challenged him over and over again, trying to chip away at his life trap each time it reasserted itself. It was important to show him that we were genuinely sympathetic with how uncomfortable it felt for him to get close to anyone in light of his extremely icy parents. Nevertheless, whenever he insisted that Wendy was not beautiful enough, Isabel was not brilliant enough, or Melissa was just not right for him, we pushed him to see that he was falling into his life trap again, finding fault with others to avoid feeling warmth. After a year of this empathic confrontation, balancing emotional support and confrontation, we were finally able to see significant change. He is now engaged to Nicole, a warm and loving woman. This is Jen speaking again. My previous therapists were really understanding, and I got a lot of insight into my grim childhood. But none of them really pushed me to change. It was just too easy to fall